Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Monday to everybody. Another exciting week of college football is in the books officially. Now we have to look forward to week 5. What does that mean? That means we're a third of the way through the college football season, which is very, very depressing if you're a college football fan. So we'll have to enjoy the time we have left this year. Unfortunately, week 5, there's a couple exciting games. Another week of kind of lackluster games, outmatched, very top-heavy games. Really good teams playing nobody. So anyway, every week this week we've had tons and tons. I can't remember the last time we had this many upsets as far as Power 5 teams losing to a non-Power 5 teams, Group of 5 teams, whatever, FCS teams even. Anyway, at least we don't have to listen to UCF anymore. These guys all over Twitter on Saturday morning before the game. This guy, one guy in particular on there, saying that UCF would go undefeated throughout the ACC without a problem. They blow everybody out by 40 points until they had to face Clemson in the ACC championship game. Then they travel up there to Pittsburgh and lose. So, well, at least we don't have to listen to that anymore. Maybe they might not even make a New Year's Six bowl game this year. Anyway, I've been getting a lot of requests. This is probably one of the most common questions asked of me in the comment section and on my live shows. And that is, hey, who's your top 4 as of now to make the playoffs, right? That's a common one, which I get that. And then the other one is, hey, will you make a top 10 list or a top 25 list, weekly, like the poll, make a Pigskin Pete poll, I guess. Well, I've already made a video about this, about how meaningless the AP poll is. And if you ask 10 different people, whether they're on YouTube or on ESPN or wherever, you ask 10 different people to make a top 10 list each week, you're going to get 10 different variations of that. And the reason is because it's all completely subjective. And it's too early in the season. I think this is one of the great things about the College Football Playoff Committee. I mean, there's problems with the playoffs. Nothing's perfect. And listen, there's things that need to be changed probably in the playoff structure. But the one thing that they got right is that they do not rank anything until after week 8, so week 9. And that's because, ranking these teams, if you rank somebody number 5 before they've even played a football game that year, then they're played off of that ranking for the rest of the season. So when they lose their first game, they only drop down to 8. Right? And they lose their second game, they only drop down to 15. Well, that's not the way it should work. So the short answer to that is I will not be making a Pigskin Pete poll until week 9, when it really matters. Before the College Football Playoff Committee poll comes out with their top 25, that week before, I will give you my, after 8 weeks of football, my predictions for who should be in the top. I don't know if I'll do 25, but whatever, at least top 10. But in the meantime, I'm going to do a top 5 Heisman projection after 4 weeks. And this is just fun, right? That's all the Heisman is. The Heisman really, I don't want to say it's a meaningless award because it's not. It's a prestigious award. I don't want to diminish anybody who's ever won the Heisman. Obviously, it's anybody would love to win the Heisman. But it's an individual award in a team sport. So what I mean by that is, it's not as prestigious as, winning titles, I guess is the way I should say it. Or, I don't know. If you're a fan of a team out there, any team, would you rather your team win the Heisman or a guy on your team win the Heisman, or would you rather win a title? I think that 99 or maybe even 100 out of 100 people would rather have a title than a Heisman. Nonetheless, it's still cool to project. And we've seen some early preseason Heisman favorites sort of go away, right? I was thought about doing a top 10 here, but let's be honest, there's probably not 10 players right now in the country that are even in the running for the Heisman, and very, very seldom do you see more than 3 or 4 at the most guys even invited to New York to participate in the Heisman ceremony. So I'm going to give you my top 5 after these first 4 weeks. Some of these are pretty interesting, and some of them you pretty much expected to see on there. Now, if you're thinking because I'm a Clemson fan that all of a sudden I'm going to be so biased and just throw Trevor Lawrence on there, I'm not. He's not in the running right now. I even said before the season started, he probably won't win it. Nobody on Clemson's team will probably win it for a lot of reasons. Number one, the competition that they have this year is just not very good. So that means that they're not going to play a lot. Also, Clemson is very deep. So there's, we have basically Heisman caliber players all over the field, but they have to share that love and share those stats with a lot of other players on the team. Now, Trevor Lawrence, with the interceptions early in the year and him only playing one quarter last week against Charlotte, so he only had like 100 yards passing, maybe not even 100 yards. I think he had a couple touchdowns, but he only played for one quarter. You cannot, the Heisman has become pretty much a quarterback award, unfortunately, and a stat award. So if you only play one quarter a few times a year, and if you get taken out at halftime every week like Tua did last year, Tua still had a great year, a Heisman caliber year last year, but he lost the Heisman to a guy who was playing 4 quarters a game, and Kyler Murray, when Tua was not playing 4 quarters. I don't think he played a single fourth quarter last year until the end of the season. So there you have it. Anyways, let's just start with number 5. This is not because I'm a Clemson guy. It's because I don't think you can find more than 5 players in America that are a better player than this guy, and that is Travis Etienne from Clemson. His numbers are through the roof as a running back. He's clearly, unless you just hate Clemson and don't want to see any success out of their offense, if you're watching football and you're watching Travis Etienne, he's clearly a top 3 running back in America. Period. End of story. So he's got the stats. He's got the the eye test, and so there you have it. But he's another one. I think that 2 days ago against Charlotte, he didn't play very much. I think I don't even know what I didn't even look at stats up. But Clemson played 100 players against Charlotte, 100, and so third string got to play the majority of that game. People like Etienne, there's no reason to keep him in there and risk injury. But anyway, he's definitely top 5. Now, I don't think Etienne's going to win it. I just think he should be in the top 5 conversation. Number 4. This one surprises me a little bit. Joe Burrow, as old Mumble Mouth or drama say, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is having a Heisman type stat season. Listen, I'm really impressed with Joe Burrow. I'm really impressed with LSU's offense. Now, we're talking about Heisman. We won't talk about the rest of the team. Obviously, their defense is not very good. And the run game doesn't seem very good either. But they're putting all the weight on Joe Burrow to pass the ball, and they have some elite wide receivers. They have a really good offensive line, and they have Joe Burrow, who's playing out of his mind right now. This guy is putting up video game type numbers. And so that's what you need to do in order to be considered for a Heisman, is put up video game type numbers if you're a quarterback. And he is doing that. So all the credit to Joe Burrow. Now, I don't think Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman either. I don't think Etienne will. I don't think Joe Burrow will. But clearly, both of these guys should be in the conversation until further notice. I mean, I don't know. See, another thing that they like to look for Heisman campaigns is signature wins. And so Joe Burrow has a chance to do that a couple of times, right? He'll have a chance to do it against Alabama. He'll have a chance to do it against Auburn. If they lose both those games, then it doesn't matter. There's no Heisman campaign for Joe Burrow anymore. It doesn't matter how good his stats are. Unfortunately for him, that is something that the Heisman voters take into consideration. They don't only want the numbers. They want you to go out there and have a Heisman moment, as they call it, quote unquote. He'll have his chances, so we'll see. Number 3 on the list, Tua Tagovailoa. Listen, did anybody think that he wouldn't be on this list? He's playing out of his mind. Some guy commented to me. Well, you guys saw it on my respond to the live comments video that I did. Some guy, I don't even remember who it was, said, "Oh, everyone's building up Trevor to be a god and saying that Tua is trash." I think I've ever seen, read, heard, imagined, dreamed anybody say that Tua is trash ever. Unless they were just completely potato head and just hate Alabama or something. I've never heard anybody say that. Clearly, the guy, I think he does have a chance. Unlike Burrow and Etienne, he has a legitimate chance to win the Heisman, and he's got the games to prove it too. The only thing I think that could come back to bite him is the same thing that came back and bit him last year. is that, he doesn't play a lot of these fourth quarters. And so where he would probably get another 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns a game added to his resume and another 100 or 200 yards passing added to his resume just in that fourth quarter alone. And when you add that up over the course of a season, that's a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns that he's not getting because he's not playing late in the game. So that's going to hurt people like Trevor Lawrence this year. It's going to hurt people like Tua Tagovailoa. But it is what it is. The guy is obviously Heisman caliber, and I would give him a 30% chance to win the Heisman at this point. We'll revisit this maybe in another 4 weeks and see if anything's changed in this Heisman race. There you have it. My number 3 on the list is Tua. Number 2. This one is surprising, but not surprising if you've been watching him play. Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State. This guy might have the best quarterback numbers in the country. I don't think there is any doubt about that, is there? I mean, I didn't look him up. Somebody will probably come on here, somebody who's really into stat sheets and all that. I'm not. But I do know that he's scoring like 60 points on average a game. This last week against, I don't care who they played, he had 6 touchdowns in the second quarter alone. What did they score, 70-something points? So, yeah, the problem is, where's his Heisman moment? Because Michigan is in the toilet, like I told you they were going to be. I've been telling you Michigan's in the toilet for the past 2 years, but everyone else in the whole world outside of Pigskin Pete has been saying that they're not. Well, now everybody knows they are, so I'll accept your apologies right now in the comment section. It's only right that you apologize for me for telling me that I'm wrong about Michigan, when clearly I'm the only one around here with a sane mind. But my point is, I'm getting off track here with Michigan. Michigan has taken up way too much time in my life for no reason. I'm done with them. Justin Fields, what's his Heisman moment going to be? I guess he could have one against Wisconsin. They play them in a few weeks, so that's one to look out for. But if they score 60 on Michigan, is that going to be a Heisman moment? No, because everybody's doing that. I mean, I expect them to do that, really. Anyway, but Justin Fields, listen, he's the real deal. The only thing here, if you're a Georgia fan, and Georgia looks like, I mean, listen, they beat Notre Dame, and that's all that matters, right? And so they're still a top 3 team in my mind, Georgia is, even though I don't know what to think about that game, quite frankly. I'll get into that later. But anyway, Georgia beat Notre Dame and stays undefeated. Imagine a scenario where Georgia gets into the playoffs at, say, the 4 seed. Just hypothetically here, okay? Not what I'm not predicting this, just hypothetical. Georgia gets into the playoffs at the 4 seed. Ohio State gets into the playoffs at the 1 seed. Or Georgia gets into the playoff as a 3 seed and Ohio State at a 2 seed. You see where I'm going with this, right? Where I'm going is, imagine a scenario where Justin Fields and Ohio State play against Georgia in the playoffs. Now, the worst case scenario, if you're a Georgia fan, is this happening. Why? Because if Justin Fields goes out there and knocks you out of the playoffs, the guy that just transferred from your school last year, I can see Georgia Bulldog fans all around the country jumping off bridges, left and right. And the reason is because they let Deshaun Watson get out of their state and come win national championships at Clemson. They let Trevor Lawrence get out of their state, come win national championships at Clemson. And if they let Justin Fields get out of their program, hell, they didn't let him get out of the state. They got him on the team, and they still lost him. My point is, if they lose to him in a playoff scenario, oh man, I don't know. I'd feel sorry for Georgia fans, and that's saying a lot because I normally don't feel sorry for anybody if that happened. Anyway, that would be interesting. But Justin Fields, clearly in the top 2 list. You can flip-flop these top 3. Tua, Justin Fields, and the guy I'm going to put on at my number 1. You can flip-flop these any which way you want to. Whatever makes you feel better. Doesn't matter. This is just my list. I'm sure your list is a little bit different, but this is just my list. On my list, I have number 1. For once, hopefully, the Heisman voters, which is way, 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 way too many of. Do you guys know how many people vote for the Heisman? It's like 900 something. Doesn't Paul Feinbaum have a vote in that? Why would anybody give Paul Feinbaum a Heisman vote? Is there any way on planet Earth, in reality, that Paul Feinbaum is not voting for an Alabama player every year, no matter what? There's way too many players. There's way too many biased opinions going in this. But that's neither here nor there. It's become a quarterback award, right? So, but I have a running back, Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin. This guy, I think he's the best running back in America. Who was the last person, the running back, to win the Heisman? Was that Derrick Henry? I think it was. He was definitely an Alabama player. Anyway, doesn't matter. Somebody will correct me in the comments about that too. I don't remember, but it's been a while. It's been 4 or 5 years since a running back won it, and it's overdue. God forbid we ever see a defensive end or somebody win it. That's just as important as every other position on the field, but whatever. It's either going to be a running back. 90% chance it's going to be a quarterback, 10% chance it could be a running back. Outside of that, forget about it. Nobody's winning it. But listen, Jonathan Taylor, look what he's doing. This guy looks like he looks like an NFL player playing on a college field. Let's just say it. There's a handful of players that you can say that about every year, and he's it. When you look at him on the field, he looks like an NFL player right now, playing in college, playing against kids. Or he looks like a college player playing against high school kids. He just looks like he's in a whole nother league than everybody else on the field with him. And listen, Wisconsin's a really good team. They have a really good offensive line, which helps. But this guy's a one-man show. And, you know, Wisconsin plays in a pretty weak division, right? The Big Ten West is pretty weak. And at this point, quite honestly, the Big Ten East is pretty weak outside of Ohio State. But that's a whole other video with that too. But so he's going to get a lot of yards. He's going to get the stats. He's got the opportunity for the Heisman moment against Ohio State. You could even say his Heisman moment already happened against Michigan, even though Michigan's no good, is because he didn't play the entire second quarter. So in 3 quarters, he put up 200 yards and several touchdowns. And he continues to do that week after week after week after week after week. As long as this guy stays healthy, it would be a shame and a travesty not to consider him to actually win. I would probably vote for him over a quarterback if he continues to do this. Because it's a lot harder to run for 2,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, which is what he's on pace to do, than it is to throw for 1 million yards if you have NFL wide receivers all over the field. That's just my personal opinion. But as long as this guy stays healthy, and that's the real thing here also is, you know, the running backs have a lot harder time staying healthy for obvious reasons. They're taking massive hits every time they carry the ball. So I hope he does stay healthy. Very exciting player to watch. I love playing him, watching him play. And so that's it. So there you guys have it. There is my top 5 Heisman list as of right now. We'll revisit this in another 4 weeks after week 8, and we'll make some updates to this. Maybe somebody else will move into the top 5 and somebody will drop out, vice versa, or maybe Tua will work his way up to number 1 on my list, or Justin Fields, or somebody will drop off. I don't know. We'll see. Go ahead and give me your opinion. Dare I even ask? Go ahead and give me your opinion on this list, and maybe give me your top 5 as well in the comments section. I will see you guys very soon. I'll see you either tomorrow or Wednesday for my Bet Now weekly Vegas picks for week 5. Hint, I did really good again last week for all you haters out there. Let's see. Then what do I have? Oh, check out howardsrock.net. I got some new videos coming up this week over there with Bobby Durkins and Spencer for Rover Sports. We do weekly shows over there as well as some written articles and that sort of fun stuff. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Have a great day. Don't cry about my list. Well, you can cry about it if you want to. I'm just not going to listen. But have a great day. Peete and Peete checking out.